weight gain in vet med. This is definitely something that a lot of us deal with. It's a challenge for a lot of us. And the question is, why is that? So we are very smart people, right? We are in vet med. We have gone through lots of classes to get where we are. We understand science. We understand metabolism. We understand the whole idea of too many calories ends up creating more pounds. But why, if we know all of that, do so many of us actually struggle with keeping our weight in check when we're in vet med? Why is that? Now, we can come up with a whole lot of reasons. Some of us are going to say, oh, I just don't have time to cook well. Others of us just attribute it to the stress, which you're close on that one. That's definitely a big part of that. And a lot of us are just kind of like, we don't have time, or we don't even think about it. Like, time just goes on, and all of a sudden, like, the next time we have to buy clothes, we buy one more size larger, and the next time one more size larger. And we don't realize the effect of that over a period of time until all of a sudden, many of us one day take a look in the mirror and we're like, what in the heck happened? How on earth did I gain this much weight? And some of you have already heard my own personal story with this. I mean, you drink Starbucks every day for 20 years, and it's not surprising at all that you gain a lot of weight, is it? But I don't know about you guys, but whenever I tried to get the weight off, I was always surprised at how hard it was. And many times I would just give up. And so I think that that is something that, as I've spoken to many of you, that this is the same cycle that you've gone through. You've recognized that your weight has changed the longer that you've been in vet med. You have some ideas on what to do about it. And many of us believe that just the right diet and exercise is going to be all that's needed to get the weight to come back off. And for some of us, that does work. But what tends to happen for a lot of us is that when we do that, when we kind of buckle down and we come up with a food plan, maybe we join a fad diet, do Atkins or keto or Weight Watchers or Jenny Craig or something like that, because we think it's going to be easier if it's all just prepared in advance for us. Many of us pick something like that to jump into and do, and then we add on the exercise and we're gung-ho for a while. And then it just kind of all starts to slide, and the weight that we lose starts to come back. And for many of us, it comes back even more pounds than it was when we started, and it becomes a vicious cycle. So why does this happen? If we are smart people and we understand what we need to do to diet and to get the pounds off, why can't we do that? Now, I know many of you are probably like me, and you say, like, I just don't know why I can't do this. I just can't do it. Or you're saying, like, it's too hard, or worse, you're beating yourself up to it. I just can't stick to it, right? I'm just not disciplined enough. I can't get out of bed early enough in the morning to exercise, let alone prepare something to take to work. There's just not enough time. Like, we come up with a whole bunch of excuses, but underneath most of those excuses, what a lot of us are doing is we're totally beating ourselves up. So every time that we try to lose weight and we do it for a while, and then we stop doing it for whatever reason, and then the weight starts to come back, it's like punching ourselves in the face, basically. We're beating ourselves up. So we're already feeling crappy about the way that we feel in our own skin and the way that we look, because a lot of us have a lot of shame over how much weight we've gained, not even realizing that it's been happening, like not staying aware of what's been happening with ourselves, because we've been so consumed by usually work, to be honest, things going on at work. And so that has happened over time. And maybe we've noticed it happening, but we just haven't really paid enough attention to it. We're going to get back to it. And then when we decide that we're going to go ahead and try to address this, and we decide on a diet plan, and we jump in and we're gung-ho, and we do it for a while and we're feeling great, and then something happens. And it's not even always something we can identify, and all of a sudden we're not doing it anymore. And then we're either not losing weight, or we're starting to gain some of that weight back. And as that happens, what we do is we start beating ourselves up even more. And it just starts this whole vicious cycle. So why is that happening? So let me just double check here. I see some eyeballs out there. It looks like Bree's out there. Hey, Bree. Anybody else? Say hello. Sometimes I can see you, sometimes I can't, but it's all good. So let's figure out exactly what is happening here. So this is what I want to talk about today. For those of you guys who have struggled with this, who have been trying to lose weight, or who have noticed that you've gained weight in vet med and you can't seem to get it off, even though you know what you think you need to do. For most of you, you think you need to pick a diet, get really strict on your food intake, and start exercising. That's what you think the key is to making this happen, but you just can't do it for whatever reason, or you can't get started, or you can't maintain it. What I want to offer you is a whole other reason why this is happening, and a much, much easier way to make the weight fall off. Now, here's how this works, guys. You know, here at Joyful DVM, I'm all about what's going on with our crazy little brains, right? So it's all about the thoughts that we have. Just like everything else, circumstances, which are just the neutral facts of our life, create thoughts. Thoughts create emotions. Emotions drive actions, and actions create results. That's true no matter what. You can apply that to every single area in your life. And so if you're looking at the result of weight gain, the first thing you do is you ask yourself, what are the actions that you're taking that's creating weight gain? Well, somewhere along the way, you're eating more calories than your body needs. Or you're not burning enough calories for what you're eating, right? So this does come down to calories to some extent. But even more than that, if you think about all the food that you're consuming, let's take that one more step up that ladder and ask ourselves, what is the emotion that's driving that action? Because if many of us would get honest with ourselves, for the reason that we're eating all the things that we're choosing to eat during the day, it's not that we actually want those things from a hunger standpoint. It's that we are finding comfort in those things because our day in, day out lives in the veterinary profession are stressful. Many of us are using food as a buffer. And it works. That's why we do it. It works. Now, if you want to understand scientifically why it works, it all comes down to dopamine. Dopamine is the feel-good hormone, right? And so if we have some way that we can trigger dopamine release, then we're going to feel happier and feel better for a while. Eventually, that's going to wear off. We're going to feel crappy again, but we are going to feel better for a while. And so how many of you go through your days in VetMed, and as the day goes on, you're either thinking about what you can run out and get for lunch, or you're thinking maybe you can run to get a Starbucks in the afternoon, or drop by the gas station and get a Diet Coke or something like that. Like, think about those little things, those little pick-me-ups, those little treats that you give yourself to get through your days. For me, I mean, it started out with the trip to Starbucks just on the way in the office every single morning. And then it was looking forward to lunchtime, where if my day went right, I could run out and have Mexican food for lunch with a girlfriend of mine. And then late afternoon, it wasn't unusual that I'd send somebody out to get me either another coffee or something to drink in the afternoon. You do that persistently over time, and what happens is that your waistline changes. But it's not worth beating yourself up over unless you understand why it's happening in the first place. And yeah, you can say, well, Carrie, you're drinking Starbucks twice a day and having Mexican food. Of course, you're going to gain weight. Well, sure. You know, academically, that's true. But what's actually happening is, let's go back and figure out, why is it that I'm taking that action that's creating the result? Because it's not, if I just fix the action and I don't figure out why I'm doing it, it's never going to get easier. So you go right up one more step there, and you find there's always an emotion that drives an action every single time. So what is it? For many of us, it's going to be things like anxiety. It's going to be stress. It's going to be worry. Sometimes it could be sadness. It could be anger. It could be frustration. But it's probably going to be something on the negative side of the emotions wheel that's driving us to do something to feel better. And in this case, many of us choose to eat. Some of us choose to consume alcohol. Some of us choose recreational drugs. We smoke, we shop, we play on Facebook. And for a lot of us, it's a combination of all of these things. But the food is pretty easy to use, and that dopamine hit is quick. We feel better for a while. As it wears off, then guess what? We need more.